Greetings. I have before us here a document. See this, the seal on top. See the stamp here. Permanent Mission Trinidad and Tobago. This is the permanent mission of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to the Office of the United Nations in Geneva. So this is basically the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago writing to the United Nations. Note number 37/2013. The permanent mission of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to the United Nations Office and its specialized agencies in Europe presents its compliments to the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights, and with reference to the latter's note dated 16th October 2012 concerning Human Rights Council Resolution A/HRC/21/24. I am going to be going through that resolution in other videos, but I just want to start off with this letter, which is a letter from the government to the UN in response to this resolution. The resolution is the Human Rights and Indigenous People. Human Rights and Indigenous People has the honor to transmit herewith the response from the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. The permanent mission of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to the United Nations Office and its specialized agencies in Europe avails itself of this opportunity to renew to the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights the assurances of its highest consideration. So the letter dated there 22nd of March 2013. So the stamp to confirm its officialness. So this is a response to questionnaire on human rights resolution. So apparently there was some question with the resolution, E/HRC, etc., human rights and indigenous people. The United Nations has never given an official definition to the term indigenous people, recognizing that the term in fact covers a very diverse group of persons. However, the UN has developed a modern understanding of the term based on the following. So although they never gave an official definition, they have an understanding of what indigenous means. Again, this is from the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to the United Nations. Self-identification as indigenous people at the individual level and accepted by the community as their member. So we have that there. Self-identification and acceptance by the community. Historical continuity with pre-colonial and/or pre-settler societies. So, based on antiquity, the knowledge of historical events, things of the past, before colonial times, a behavior and conduct that is in keeping with that. Strong link to territories and surrounding natural resources, living off the land. Distinct social, economic, or political systems. Distinct language, culture, and beliefs. They also form non-dominant groups of society, and they resolve to maintain and reproduce the ancestral environments and systems as distinctive peoples and communities. Right, so continuing with the rest of the letter. This is again just a reminder from the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago to the High Commission of the United Nations. In Trinidad and Tobago, there remains a very minuscule descendant population of Amerindians, namely the Carib community. The government recognizes the Santa Rosa Carib community in Arima as the surviving population of Caribs. In 2011, the government approved 25 acres of land for the creation of an Amerindian heritage village so as to ensure the protection of Amerindian culture and traditions. Good so far. Good so far. Continuing. Historically, it has been recorded that the Amerindians were wiped out through slavery, war, and disease as a result of the more powerful and resourceful Spanish immigrant settlers. So, historically, it has been recorded that they were wiped out. Wiped out means no more, correct? Through slavery, war, and disease. And these methods of using slavery, war, and disease are described as being attributes of a more powerful and resourceful Spanish immigrant settler. Good. So we could clearly see the sway of the author being the government, that who is more powerful and resourceful by using the methods being described. The remaining few, so they weren't totally wiped out after all, because some remained. At first, the sentence reads that the Amerindians were wiped out. Second sentence, the remaining few who continued to survive, although maintaining some cultural and religious traditions, have been largely absorbed into the general population, losing much of their distinguishing qualities as a community. Who are we speaking about again? The Amerindians, the indigenous people of the land, who were initially wiped out at the beginning of the paragraph by the more powerful and resourceful invaders. Somehow, after being wiped out, a few remained and continued to survive, although maintaining some of their cultural and religious traditions. They have some of their cultural and religious traditions still. They have family get-togethers. They have a tradition of having a cook, of having a lime, of living in love, and sharing with their brothers, helping one another. They have traditions like that. They have been largely absorbed into the general population, losing much of their distinguishing qualities as a community. Yes. So I just say let us go one side here and look at this word few. Let's say the remaining few members of the Amerindian communities who were absorbed. What is meant by this word few? Few. See, it is an adjective here. To begin with, you'd see I am on etymon line. This is where you get the etymology of the word. Etymology would give you a history, and let me go into it so you could see what it is about. So you see, few, adjective. So that means it is describing a noun. Old English, you have this word here, fiwi. I don't know how they would pronounce it, but the plural would be contracted to fi, meaning, so this word here, F-E-A, this word here would be contracted, meaning shortened. This is the Old English, shorten it to the F-E-A, and that is what connects to the few, F-E-W, meaning not many, a small number, seldom, a little, even a little. From Proto-Germanic, farwise, Old Saxon, far, Old Frisian, fi, Old High German Fao, Old Norse Fa, Danish Fa, from Proto-Indo-European. That's what this PIE. This means Western civilization. Proto-Indo-European. That's what we're using it now. Meaning there's a root from PAW, where it means few or little. Good so far. Few means a little bit. Go on to the other paragraph now. Always plural in Old English according to OED. So there's a different form of Old English here. An analogy of the adverbial fela. So it's a comparison or something similar, an analogy. So it's some similar to fela, meaning many. So you get the phrase few and far between, attested in the 1660s. Is an unusual, ironic use in quite a few or many. So the word few could either mean very little or many. And in this instance here, where they talk about the remaining few indigenous people who are absorbed into the community, it could be a little or it could be many, depending on which version of Old English we are using to speak in. Right? So we know is many. We did see them the other day on the streets for carnival. There was many of them. So I just wanted to clear up that. So the few remaining have been largely absorbed into the general population, losing much of their distinguishing qualities as a community. So the community aspect, in the sense of identifying as an Amerindian community, they may not have that, because that has been lost through being absorbed as part of a general population. As such, distinguishing features such as distinct language or social, economic, and political systems have been eroded. Although the Santa Rosa Carib community continue to maintain some cultural and religious traditions, it is very difficult to identify persons of Carib descent as members of a distinct community within the general population. So although the Santa Rosa Carib community continues to maintain some cultural and religious traditions, I think that is self-explanatory, it is very difficult to identify persons of Carib descent as members of a distinct community within the general population. So that is not all the Amerindians, that is not all the Caribs, that does not represent all. That is representative of some, because it maintains some cultural and religious traditions. That is the only reason, as far as the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is concerned, that the Santa Rosa Carib community is they maintain cultural and religious traditions, some of them. The government maintains committed to valuing the continued existence of the Santa Rosa Carib community. However, it also maintains that due to the fact that the Carib community no longer maintains an acute distinctiveness, as according to the UN's modern understanding of indigenous people, the Carib community may not be subject. Carib community, let's recap that there. The government remains committed to valuing the continued existence of the Santa Rosa Carib community. However, it also maintains that due to the fact that the Carib community no longer maintains an acute distinctiveness, as according to the UN's modern understanding of indigenous people, the Carib community may not be subject to all the rights and obligations as outlined in the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. So that pertains to the Santa Rosa Carib community, because they do not maintain any distinctive Amerindian quality. That community may not be obligated to the rights as outlined by the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. They go on to say currently there is no legislation regarding the rights of Amerindian population. In addition, information regarding policies and initiatives relating to the Santa Rosa Carib community are not housed within the Ministry of the Attorney General, and as such, it is unable to complete the questionnaire or give an authoritative view on the issues. Well, they cannot. They cannot get that from the Santa Rosa community, because the Santa Rosa Carib community does not represent the Amerindian indigenous people of the island. They are a community that engage in practices and religious and cultural practices. Yeah, they maintain some of the traditions, but they are not representative of the community, because as stated at the beginning, the community has been incorporated into the general population, absorbed into the general population, losing much of their distinguishing qualities as a community. In a general sense, the indigenous people of this island, this is according to the government, this is not me who write this, this is not the Rasta man who write this. To be very clear, this is the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago writing to the High Commissioner of the United Nations. They are aware of the indigenous people on the land who initially were wiped out, and then by the second sentence a few survived, but this surviving few has been absorbed into the general population. And be that as it may, we are still here. We are still indigenous. We still practice the ways of our ancient ancestors. We still have our social practices. We still have our language in a sense. Although we have been subjected and forced into a slave language, we have changed it to suit us. They came here stealing our oil, putting it in drums, and around the same time, in order to sabotage and handicap our spiritual practices, they made drums illegal. They made it illegal to have a drum, to beat a drum. So what did they do? What did we do? We took the one thing that they can't do without, the oil drum. We take that and make that into a drum. Let me see how they band that now. See how resourceful we are? That is who we are. And now I am saying that we need to read. We need to read. Whoever reached this find the video very nice. Very nice. You're willing to do the work. And this, look how nice this work is. You just have to listen to me read. And go and check it now. Go and check it. You could just type in, you see that resolution there? E/HRC /res/21/24. Screenshot that and go and Google that and see what come up. Read that resolution. As you start to read the resolution, you'll understand what's happening. We have all the rights. They are saying that they cannot give us control of our God-given resources and land because we will destroy it. That is what they say. It's the same thing that they told or they had seen about our brothers and sisters across the planet. They can't give them back the statues. They can't give us back our cultural effects, our drums, our paintings, our statues that they stole, our historical records that they stole and have hidden all over the planet. In museums far, far away, they hide our stuff and tell us we have nothing. But this is them saying that we have the rights. More to come soon. And go and check this e/hrc/res/21/24 Human Rights and Indigenous People. This letter I'm reading from is a response from the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago in relation to this resolution that is dated. It is actually dated the 11th of October 2012, but I guess they sent a note. The UN sent a note to the government on the 16th in relation to, I guess, why they didn't respond to the questionnaire. And as I just read it there, that is the question. That is their thoughts. That is the thoughts of the government on the indigenous people situation. So whether we are as part of our community or we have been absorbed into the general population, we are still indigenous and we are still entitled to our rights. Yeah? Notice the agent is notice the principle. Notice the principle is notice the agent. Wadua, love in the house. Love and gratitude, appreciation, and goodness to the ancestors for the love. Peace out.